das der Bogens an die Alster lang, so in Duster mit so'm fitten Mondenschien. Wenn die Wellenplätzer leise an dem Strand entlang, jeder Ex-Hamburger findet das doch so viel.
This is the Char 2C French heavy tank by MENG. During late World War I, the need for something like the tank arose, as to break the stalemate of the trenches. Different forms of tanks were used in World War I, but the French hoped to have the biggest tank of them all. The Char 2C began development in July of 1916, when a shipyard in Toulon, France, was contracted to develop a heavy tank. It made natural sense that a shipyard be in charge of development, due to its similarity with naval ships, what with the construction, ventilation, and fire protection. The development of the tank stood on standby, with not much more progress being made. Eventually, by September 1916, as the British unveiled their Mark I at the Battle of the Somme, the French people saw hope in the new tank projects, and this spurred the progress of the tank back into development. The Char 2C was the largest tank ever in operation. It was over 10 meters long, 3 meters wide, and 4 meters high, fitting about 12 crew inside. It weighed 69 tons, with a 75mm cannon as its main armament. It used the same engines as the Zeppelins did, which was required to drag the beast along at a crawl of 15 kilometers per hour, or about 9 miles per hour. The Char 2C was late to the war, and wasn't fully finished until 1921, with a total of 10 being built. By the time it was built, other tanks that had already surpassed the Char 2C's performance were already done, and it looked like the Char 2C was already outdated by the time it was finished. One thing that the Char 2C wasn't too late for was to boost morale. Although it was slow and the armor was too thin for early World War II standards, and far better tanks were constantly being produced, one thing didn't change. It was still the biggest tank around. With its high-sitting profile, it was a bigger target, making it more vulnerable. But to the public side, this was a behemoth tank that showed the capability of the French military. So it became a symbol of strength, and the tanks were used to produce propaganda films for the French public at the early stages of World War II. As the Germans invaded France, France knew that the Char 2C was closer to a museum piece than a practical weapon. So they put them on a train and had them shipped to southern France, where they would be far away from any danger and remain undamaged. This plan failed, as a railroad on the way to southern France had been blocked, so they decided that it was better that the tanks be destroyed than to fall into German hands. After the war, the Champagne wasn't found, and it was assumed it was either destroyed or sold for scrap, with some speculating that it had been taken to the Soviet Union. So today there's no remaining Char 2Cs, but it remains as the largest operational tank ever made. This kit is available at MRS Hobby Shop in Salt Lake City or Sandy, Utah, or online at kitlings.com.
Hannes, du paddelst mit mir immer so, und wie du mit deinem Paddel Hannes, zuckersüßer Hannes, du kannst das wirklich ganz famos. Du stippst dein Paddel mit'm Schwung so rein. Hannes, darin bist du groß.